In this lecture I'm going to show you how to play 16th notes. So we've already done quarter notes, we've already done eighth notes, so this time we'll be doing 16th notes. So when we did quarter notes we had 4 of them, when we played eighth notes we had 8 of them, and in this lecture we've got 16th notes. Makes sense that 16th notes mean we've got 16 notes. Okay, so when we play them around the kit, we're going to have 4 groups of 4. So you do the math, 4 times 4 is 16. And this is what it sounds like played around the kit. Okay, so when we played eighth notes, one of the final exercises that we did was to play the whole eighth note rhythm just using our right hand in anticipation for playing 16th notes. So our right hand plays the rhythm 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which we did in the last lecture. So that sounds like this. Okay, so hopefully you're comfortable with that. This time we're going to be filling in the gaps in between with our left hand, and those are going to be the 16th notes. So you're playing the 8th note rhythm with your right hand and the 16th notes with your left, and we count those E and A. So it becomes 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Okay, so if I play that around the kit and count along, it sounds like this.
1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and
Okay, so that's what 16th notes sound like. You're playing alternating sticking, right, left, all the way around, and you're counting 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Okay, so let's give that a go on the snare drum to begin with. So if I give it a go just to start with, and then we'll give it a go in a minute with a click. So it's going to be sounding like this.
1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and.
Okay, so the count's quite a mouthful, so make sure you take breaths like I was doing, but see if you can count out all of the notes, 1 E and as it really helps with your rhythm playing. Okay, and when we come to the next lectures of missing out notes, it does help when you're trying to play different rhythms. Okay, so we'll give that a go at 40 BPM to start with. Here we go. 3 E and 4 E and
2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and
Okay, so work on those things that we talked about in the previous lectures. Playing in the centre of the drum, playing in time to the click. All your volume should be the same between your hands, so with the stick heights coming up to the same point. And make sure all the notes are evenly spaced, so you don't want this. Don't gallop, okay? So if you're struggling, if you're starting to gallop, then slow it down and play at a slower tempo. Set the click to maybe 30. And work your way up. Okay, so let's give it another go at 40 beats per minute, and you're going to count on your own this time. I'm just going to play. So you're going to play and count at the same time. 2, 3 E and 4 E and Okay, there we go. So that's at 40 beats per minute. Let's try slightly faster, 50 beats per minute on the snare drum, and you're going to count along again. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I think 50 BPM is quite a decent tempo to start with because there's a lot of notes in there, just to get you going. Probably faster would be a little bit too hard. You might start to gallop, but if you want to go faster, then by all means, just make sure the notes are really even. Playing it slowly is better just to build up the getting used to playing those 16th notes to begin with, and counting out loud is quite important as well. So make sure you're doing all of that from 40, possibly down to 30 BPM, 40, and up to 50. If you want to go faster, then just make sure they're evenly spaced. Okay, so this time we'll drop it back down to 40 and we'll play around the kit. So we're going to play 4 notes on each drum, playing right, left. So when you come to the next drum, your right hand is leading. So your right hand plays the first note on each drum at all times. So it sounds like this. Okay, one of the hardest things at this stage is when you go to repeat the bar, going from the floor tom back to the snare drum, because the notes are quite close together and your left hand is playing that last note on the floor tom, whereas the next note is played with the right on the snare drum. So from there to there is quite a jump. So when you play your left hand, the last left hand, your right hand needs to be up here, ready to play the next note, but you need to get your left hand out the way after it's played the floor tom. There's no need for you to cross over your sticks like that. Even at faster tempos, you've got time for your left hand to get out the way. So you want to avoid this. because it's just messy and your left hand needs to get past your right hand. So make sure your left hand comes to the left of the right by the time you play that first right hand. Okay, so let's give it a go. 40 BPM, nice and slowly. 2, 3 E and 4 E and
1, 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and
Okay, so you give it a go now with counting. I'm going to play along, but you're going to count and play at the same time. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and again. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if you want to try it a bit faster, let's do 50 BPM. 2, 3 E and 4 E and Okay, so playing at those tempos at 40 and 50 beats per minute is a really good aim to start with. So both playing on the snare drum and around the kit whilst counting out loud. Okay, if you want to play faster, then by all means, but make sure you're concentrating on those things we talked about. So counting out loud, making sure you're counting out loud, playing in the center of the drum, playing in time with the click, so you should be able to play in time. Making sure the volume of all your notes, including the left hand, are the same, so your stick heights coming up to the same point for each stroke. And making sure you're playing rhythmically even, so you don't want to be galloping, you want to have all the notes the same length. As opposed to or, which doesn't sound that great, just sounds a bit sloppy. Okay, so make sure everything is played evenly. Okay, if you do want to play faster, then let's give that a go. 60 BPM, it's a little bit fast, so don't worry if you're not there yet. Concentrate on playing it slower rather than faster. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that was 16th Notes. Have fun.